Hi everybody, John at IPT Trans here. What we're going to be doing is installing a Mitsubishi end clutch kit. Sell a lot of these. People have trouble putting them in sometimes, so we're going to make a video to show you how to do it right. Okay, we have the end clutch housing out of the car. That's easy, you guys can figure that out. End clutch cover, end clutch drum. Now what we have in here is a bearing, fourth clutch hub, and a thrust washer. Alright, we need to put those back later, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, these are your end clutches. What we have to do is take the snap ring out that retains them. Take your clutches out. This is the factory setup. Now what we got to do is important is change these seals. A lot of people skip this step and it's not going to work unless you change the seals in this drum. So this is how you do that. There's a little snap ring in here that you're going to have to take out. Okay, that's the snap ring. There's a little shim under it. Don't misplace that. This is your return spring. And inside the drum is a piston. Just bang that around a little bit, get the piston out, and you got to change these seals that are on the piston. There's one on the inside you got to get rid of, and there's one on the outside. Okay. Now what happens, I don't know if we could see it, is when these clutches wear out, this piston over travels in the drum. When it comes back down, it takes a little chunk out of that seal. Okay, so if you put new clutches in, it's still going to be leaking all kinds of fly oil through that rip in the seal, and it's going to burn the end clutch pack that you just put in right up. Okay, so we got to always change these. Okay, you have another seal back here. Okay, you got to be real careful to take note of its position, the way it's oriented in this drum, because there's two sides to it, and a lot of people end up putting this in backwards, and that's also going to burn this clutch pack up as soon as you put it in the car. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take that seal out, and we do that by just a screwdriver, a hammer, and just give it a couple little taps, and it's out. Alright, throw that away, you're not going to need it. There's also a metal sealing ring that hooks together, almost like a piston ring on the back of this drum. You're going to want to change that also. Now you got this all apart, you got your seals off, you just want to clean it up a little bit. So just clean this with some brake clean or mineral spirits and get all the gook out of there. Blow it off with compressed air, dry it, just make sure everything's nice and clean. Okay, we have this all cleaned up. What's in your kit is 4 steel plates, 4 clutch plates, which I've soaked in automatic trans fluid for about a half hour before we do this. And you have a seal kit, a bag of seals. Now, there's a bunch of stuff in here that you're not going to need because this kit fits multiple applications, so we're going to just, find out what you need, and the rest, don't worry about it if there's extra stuff in there. It's supposed to be. Alright? Now, first thing we got to worry about is the seals on the piston. Okay, there's an inner seal and an outer seal. The outer seal is all the same. The inner seal, there's 2 slightly different sizes, so you have to pick the correct one. Okay, and that's going to go on the inside of the piston. Just kind of work it in there with your fingers. If you have the wrong size seal, it's just, it's not going to fit in there right. So now we got an extra seal, we don't need that. Now we have the outer seal. We put that on. If you can see, there's a little groove in there. Just got to line it in the groove. Make sure it's not rolled or tucked under anywhere. And just, work that into the groove of the piston. Alright? Okay, now you got to lube this up. What we use is a mixture of STP oil treatment and trans fluid. We'll lube up the drum a bit and the seals on the piston. Okay. Now this has two sides to it, and you got to make sure, you'll see there's little check balls on one side. That side goes down into the drum. Now, it's a little tricky to get this in, but you got to just kind of be gentle and work it back and forth, or you can tear the seal. So good. Okay. Now our piston's in. We have to put our return spring. Again, it's top and the bottom. Goes in like this. After the return spring, our shim and our snap ring. Okay. I could kind of put these in by hand or with a transmission spring compressor to get a bearing race, something that fits in there nicely that's going to help push it down. I mean, at home you could use a bearing race, any round object, and maybe a couple of C-clamps, but this is how we do it. Okay, we're going to take it over to our transmission spring compressor. Try and stand to the side so you can see this. Get this set to the right height. And we compress this return spring. And I'm trying to do this so you can see it. We've got to put this snap ring in its groove. One more try. Okay. I'm going to make sure that's seated in there all the way. You know, after you do that, you could kind of push around the outside and make sure he's already seated in his groove. Okay, now we're going to load our clutches up into the drum. We're saving this top plate from the original, and everything else gets changed. Now, some of these have 4 clutches and some of them have 3. Our kit comes with 4. Obviously, if you have 3, you don't use them all. Now you're going to alternate a steel plate and a clutch plate all the way up to the top. Then your top pressure plate and the snap ring. There's a little groove that it fits in, and you want to make sure everything's in there correctly. Spin it and make sure you have a little clearance. These things don't have much, but you should have, no, probably 10 thousandths or so. Okay. Next, we're going to turn it over, and we got 2 seals to deal with. Our metal hook type. So we put that on, and you got to kind of push it and hook it together, and the end seal on the drum. Now your kit's going to have 2 different seals in it. You're going to use the one that matches yours. I mean, they're pretty obvious. One's a lot bigger than the other one. Okay, so ours uses the small one, as do most of the later model Transes. This our old one, we see it's the same. Okay, we got to install it facing this way. Alright, you'll see there's 2 sides to it. This is the side that it's got to have come up. Alright, so we just kind of set it in there, and you could use a socket or whatever's handy to drive the seal in. Alright, I'm going to drive that seal in, make sure everything's okay. I'm going to lube up these 2 seals. Lube up the inside of your end clutch housing. There's another seal that goes in it. And you can hold this in here with some of this trans assembly grease. That works pretty well too, because it may try and fall out when you're putting it in the car. Okay, now you're going to put your drum in here, and just kind of carefully get it down in there, and it should kind of spin freely once you get it in. Now get some, you could use Vaseline if you don't have this. This is trans assembly lube. You're just kind of using it as glue. Alright? So you're going to glue that thrust washer in there, Now your fourth clutch hub goes in there next, and you got to walk it down and make sure it's all the way down flush against that washer. And you'll hear it. It kind of will have a little clunking sound to it when it's down all the way. Then the next is your bearing. This has got two sides to it also. That's the bottom. This is the top. This is going to face the transmission. So we're going to just get a little grease on that. Put it in here. And this is your housing. It's ready to go in the car. That's it. That's all there is to it.